Hi, I'm DR.S.BARATH. In this video, I'm going to explain why I'm bullish on certain stocks and what are my plans and how I'm planning to accumulate that. The reason why I'm putting this video is, of course, we all know that the budget session is coming and the stock market has been very volatile. And these are the situations we can always use it to our advantage if we are probably thinking in a long term perspective rather than just a trading, but whereas we want to invest into some certain quality stocks, I think these would be the times where we have to take some bets. And in case there is going to be a reasonable correction after the budget, I would be definitely willing to buy some of these stocks, and definitely I'm not going to take only F&O positions in these stocks, but whereas I would like to prefer to take delivery in cash market, not in bulk quantities, whatever quantity is possible, I would try to accumulate these stocks. And before going into the video, I would like to give a very strong disclaimer. You all should know that I have already been having some significant exposure in all these stocks, and definitely I am not a SEBI registered analyst, so don't blindly buy or sell any of these stocks. It's not a stock buying and selling recommendation. I would definitely advise you to consult your financial advisor before purchasing or selling any of the stocks. So let's get into the video. Yeah, the first stock that I'm going to discuss today, of course, you all know that if you have been watching my channel regularly, I've been selling some put options in Hindustan Unilever, and that is one of my favorite stock. Invariably, it's an FMCG sector, and I'll tell you what is the reason that I've been selling that, and you can understand the rationale once I explain it. And in this video, I'll keep it very simple. I'm not going to go into a lot of depth into the fundamentals or technicals. I'll just give a very brief understanding of the reason why I'm bullish and why I'm bullish about both the fundamentals and not just the technicals of the company. Now, I use this site called as Ticker Tape for evaluation. It's a very famous thing. And about the Hindustan Unilever, the one drawback that we see that is the current price is not cheaper. It is definitely more than the intrinsic value. But okay, most of the stocks, a good stock, we cannot always expect it to trade under the intrinsic value. So I'm okay buying it at these levels. That is one thing. And is there any other thing which is a red flag where we need to take into consideration? I don't think so. There is anything of that sort. Yes, now first let us see the financials of the company, that is the Hindustan Unilever. Now when we see that pre-COVID, that is 2018, initially the revenues were around 36,000 crores, and then steadily it did increase. In fact, even during the pandemic it actually improved, and now it is steadily improved, and it is definitely in a very healthy range of around 47,500 crores. So as far as revenue is concerned, it is definitely improved. And then the net income, if we see that, the net income is also definitely improved from what it was earlier. It was around 5,000, now it has almost come to 8,000 crores. So definitely I don't see any problem over here. Now when we see the cost of doing the business, we always see that the raw material earlier it was like almost around 14 to 15,000 crores, but there has been a significant increase in the cost of raw material that has happened in 2021, and this is what is actually because of the inflation that has been happening. So all the raw material cost is going up. Now considering these facts, now we see that there is a drastic increase of almost around 4,000 crores in the purchase of raw materials. In spite of that, they have been able to really maintain the profit margin. So I think that is definitely a plus point about this company. And then all other parameters, I don't see any red flag over here. And net income is almost around 8,000 crores. So I think there is no problem as far as the income is concerned. Now let us analyze the balance sheet. Of course, a very basic analysis. I really don't see that there is any major problem as far as the assets and the balance sheet is concerned. I don't see a major drawback about here. And then the cash flow. Now we see that the cash flow that they have been generating, that is mainly the cash flow from operating activities, that is what is generated by the business, is definitely very healthy compared to what it was earlier. Earlier it was only around 6,000 crores, now it has definitely come much more than that, is around in excess of 9,000 crores. So that way it is definitely better, and they have been investing into some financing activities. So they have been taking into, I think they are doing some expansion. It is all good, and the free cash flow is definitely positive. So we do see that they have got some free cash flow to do some expansion activities also. So as far as the financial is concerned, I don't see anything really wrong with the company. Now if we compare it to the peers, I do see that definitely the P ratio is much higher, but always, since this is actually a blue chip stock, it is like, I think it is around the 6 or 7 stock in the Nifty. I think it commanding a higher P ratio, I think it is substantiated by that point. So it is a little bit expensive, as I told you, as we saw that the intrinsic value is definitely much lesser than the current price, but still I am personally comfortable buying the stock if it is to be on the long term basis. Now let us see if there is going to be any changes, if we can see, or any red flag we can see if it come to the holdings. Now as far as the mutual fund holding is concerned, we do see that there is a slight reduction in the holding as far as each quarter is concerned, but there is nothing been major about it, so nothing to worry about the holdings. It is reasonably stable. Now what about the promoters? The promoters have not changed even 0.01% about their holdings, so they do have their stand on the company and they are for the long run. So this is definitely giving some kind of substantiation where we can actually go long in these kind of stocks for the long term. And the foreign institutions, yes, we also see that again from the previous quarter there is not much change in the foreign institutions. Again there has been a minor change, but that is okay. There has not been any significant sell off as far as the institutions are concerned. So that indicate that, see, the institutions, be it domestic or the foreign institution, they will be much more aware of what are actually the fundamental changes happening in the company than the retail traders. So when they don't see any red flag and they don't really reduce the holdings, I don't think there is anything fundamentally wrong with the company. But then coming to the charts, now again I am just seeing in the trading view, this is a long term chart. I do see that the long term trend is definitely positive, and now this I assume to be a very reasonable correction, and I think this is a good time where we can go long. The stock has been accumulating around this 2300 to 400 levels, and I personally feel the stock, the rate at which it is trading is less than around 2300. I think this is going to be a good level. So even it's going to be the worst case scenario, invariably the stock is going to go in excess of around 2400, 2500 if you are going to be in the long term. So considering these situations, I would definitely go long in the stock, and if it is going to come to around 2400 500 levels, probably I will think of booking partial profits in that stock. That is my rationale behind holding Hindustan Unilever, and that's the reason I have been selling the put option into this stock. Now let us analyze another stock. Now again another FMCG, what I am like, this is always my favorite. Now it is ITC, and it's a cigarette major, and they have been trying to do a lot into FMCG sector now. Now the reason why I am bullish on the stock is definitely it is not definitely a growth stock. I am not into the stock for the long term. I consider this to be a very good trading stock, and I would only consider buying the stock at a lower level. The levels at which I will be comfortable buying the stock are around 205 to 210 levels, and at that level I think it is a good value buy, and eventually the stock would definitely give us a decent return. From my personal opinion, I think this 2200 to 210 levels are going to be a good level to accumulate this stock. Now coming to the fundamentals, I don't see any basic fundamental issues with the stock currently. And the one major advantage of this stock is we can always see that the dividend yield is definitely very attractive. It is it is around almost 5%, which is almost compared to a lot of bank deposits. So I think that is definitely one major positive if you are going to hold the stock in the cash market. And all these stock that I've been telling you, I'm not only going to take it in bulk quantities because I'm a very small retail trader, as you all know. So I'll try to accumulate these stocks to whatever level I can, not just the quantities. For example, the FNO bulk size is around 3200 shares per lot. Maybe even I will be happy to even buy around 1000 to 2000 shares. It's okay. I can try and buy something in the cash market. Now coming to the financials. Now definitely these are not very great numbers, definitely that's the reason, but again it is definitely not poor numbers where we need to really reject this stock. as I told you, it's a value buy if it comes below a certain point. Now, when we compare the revenues, we see that in 2018 it was around 45,000. Now it has definitely improved, and the net income is almost stable. It was around 11,000 crores earlier. Now it is around 13,000 crores. So considering all these, and more importantly, you know that the taxes on cigarettes is the highest in India compared to any other country in the world. Considering all these things, still they have been able to maintain a good revenue. So, and one more major problem that a cigarette company is facing in India is actually the unorganized sector that is more heavy here. So, going forward, this unorganized sector would definitely be converted to an organized sector. And considering this, if there is going to be by any chance anything favorable about these in the budget, which the chances are very less, if there is going to be something favorable here, the stock would see a really good up move. Otherwise, I am okay holding the stock for the medium term, and I am actually, as I told you, I am planning to have it as a trading stock. As and when I make some reasonable profits, I will be out of the stock, and again I will be selling put options to come into the stock when it is going to come to lower levels. And I will not be holding the stock for a very long term, thinking of very high returns. As and when I reap the benefits, I will be out of the stock, and I will be waiting for another opportunity to get into the stock again. That's what is my personal plan. And again, the balance sheet also, I don't see any red flag. Everything is reasonably fine. I really see that there's not much change. In fact, it has been improving. The current assets have really grown, and it's a very stable cash rich company, and the definitely the liabilities are much under control. I don't see any major debt at all. In fact, compared to the company size, the debt is nothing actually. So I really don't see any fundamental issues with the income or the balance sheet. And again, the cash flows also, it is definitely the cash flow from operating activities. When we see that is the cash flow that the business generates from running its business, it is definitely very good. Not great as I told you, but still it has been doing reasonably good. So there is no fundamental change with the company. Now when we compare with the peers, now you see that all the peers is all only purely a cigarette manufacturer, whereas ITC is not just a cigarette major, but whereas it is gaining more traction into the FMCG space, and they have been diversifying into that very aggressively. So going forward, that is one thing which we need to consider. It is going to become a major FMCG player, and considering the distribution network that is very strong. When we when we read the annual report, we'll get to understand all these things. I think it is definitely a good stock at 200 to 210 levels, and the P ratio is definitely reasonable. I don't see any changes here. And now coming to the holdings, we will see whether there is going to be any significant problem with the holding. The mutual funds, they have been definitely holding it steadily, and in fact they have slightly increased the holding, so that is one positive. And whether the foreign institutions, definitely they have not been interested in this stock. They have been dumping this stock. Earlier it was around 13%, now it is only around 10%. So definitely they have reduced the stake in the stock. They sense that probably they are not interested in this kind of a value buying. Probably they are more interested in some kind of a growth stock which are also available. So I don't think they have been taking good bets into the stock, but that doesn't mean we need to really reject the stock. Now coming to the technical parameters. Now again we see that in the long term, post COVID, the stock has taken a major hit, and then it has recovered, and then if we see in the long term, it has definitely been consolidating in a sideways range, and I think this is what is going to be the range for a short term. Now the range that I tell you is around 200 to 210. So this is the range where I feel I will be very comfortable to hold the stock, and definitely I think we can expect at least at 15 rupees up move if we are going to buy at that level. So that is my rationale behind holding the stock, and as I told you, I will be not holding it for the long term, but I will hold it as a trading stock. As and when I make some profits, I will be out of it, or otherwise I will be selling put options, and as long as my put option doesn't go into the money, I am going to pocket the premium, and that is what is my strategy about this stock. Now we will see some other stocks. Now the next favorite stock that I have been holding is actually the Britannia Industries. It's a mid cap. Now we see that Again, you see here that the intrinsic value is definitely much lower than the current price, but when we see the long term prospect, this is definitely not a trading stock for me. Britannia Industries is something that I am planning to hold for the very long term, and I have already started doing that. I have already invested in that company for like with a reasonable amount, and this again I am not doing it into an FNO section. My personal thing is I will try to buy it in the cash market as and when it is possible, and when it is going to come to a reasonable attractive levels. Now for me around 3400 to 500 levels definitely are attractive. So it is, one drawback is it is definitely not cheap, but again compared to the returns that it has given in the past, I don't think we can get this stock at a very cheap valuation unless and until there is going to be a major problem, which I really don't think has been the issue. Now compared to the now again one more point what I would like to emphasize here is we can see that the dividend yield is almost around 4.5%. That is, so one definitely a major positive when it comes to Britannia Industries. Now let us see the financials. Now the financials is definitely improved really well. Now in 2018 it was around 10,000 crores. It has almost increased by 35% now. Now it is almost around 13,500 crores. So that is definitely a good increase in the revenues. And the income has also shown a very healthy improvement. Earlier it was around 1000 crores, now it is around 1860 crores. So I think this is definitely something which we have to note. So I am definitely bullish on this stock, and this is not a trading stock for me. I would like to always accumulate this on the long term. Now again we see that of course the raw material cost has definitely gone up, but that is because of the inflation. In spite of all these things, I really don't see any other drawbacks over here. This company has been doing really like definitely phenomenally well in my terms. Now again the balance sheet, I really don't see any major trouble at all, and in fact the assets have been really growing at a very healthy pace, and from 5000 it is almost around 8000 crores, and I again don't see any problem with the balance sheet also. Now about the cash flow, definitely the cash flow has been improving definitely from the financial activities, I'm sorry, from the business activities. So that is definitely a good positive, and they have been able to generate a very healthy free cash flow. So that is again one more positive over here. Now when we compare to the peers, this is where is one of the drastic point that I would like you to know. Now compared to the peers, compared to Nestle or any other company, we see that the stock is definitely attractive at a PE ratio of around 45, whereas Nestle is trading at a very high PE. So compared to that, and also you can see that the dividend yield is around 4.5%. So on all these parameters, I do still see that Britannia is going to be definitely a very good company to hold in the long term. Definitely, I am not comparing it to Nestle only from the P ratio. Nestle is definitely a very good company. It has got its own business modes, but then Britannia, I feel, again has got a good penetration, and they will be definitely able to perform better in the future. And you can all say that the rural demand is low, so the biscuit sales will be less. It's all okay, but all these things, the macro factors what we see now, I believe is going to be temporary, and I am not in this stock for the short term. I am planning to hold it for the long term. So considering that fact, I think it is definitely a good stock to hold. Now again coming to the charts, now we see that again this stock after the COVID, it has been, that is the one that has gained a good traction. It has been consolidating into a huge range. Now coming to the 1 year pattern, I do believe that around this 3400 level is going to be a very good support. So if it is going to come to that level, I'll be always happy, or rather to 3400 to 500 levels, I'll be happy to buy this stock for the long term. And if someone is going to try and trade the stock, I believe it is also a trading stock if they want to do it. So if they are going to buy it around 3400 or 500, which is very frequently coming, probably it will at least a minimum, it will go to around 3800 or 700 levels, or even 4000 levels, which is already it has done. And again, once again, a strong disclaimer: this is not a stock buying a SEBI recommendation. So I'm not a definitely a SEBI registered analyst. So kindly do your own research and consult your financial advisor before indulging into any trades. So from this aspect, I am definitely bullish on Britannia. Now coming to the next stock, again it is one of the bank, that is HDFC Bank. Now I will give you my reasons why I am bullish on this bank compared to other banks. Now, is there any major drawback? Of course, again the intrinsic value is definitely much lower than the current price, but that I'm okay holding. I'm buying it for the long term, not the short term. And the dividend return is not healthy. That is okay. I'm okay with it. And again, there are no major drawbacks about this stock as far as the financials also is concerned, which we'll see now. Yes, about the income, we see that in 2018 the revenues were around 1 lakh and 1000 crores. Now it is almost 1 lakh and 55,000 crores. So from the business point of view, I think they have been doing really well. That is what the analysis is saying. I am not saying it, though the stock price is not reflecting that. I believe this should be reflecting the stock price sometime in the near future. This has definitely been not reflected. So that is my one of my consideration, and so I think that is one reason where we can buy the stock, and all the banks have been doing really bad. So but this is the time I believe that we can accumulate the banks. And then the income has definitely improved from almost 18,000 crores to 31,000 crores. So I see this to be a major positive over here. And then the balance sheet, I am not a very great person to analyze the bank's balance sheet, but still I am not personally able to find anything which is going to raise a red flag over here. And about the cash flow, and we all know that it's a good business, and the bank initially from the operating activities the cash generated was earlier around 17,000, now it is around 42,000 crores, and the free cash flow is definitely improved from 16,000 to 40,000 crores. So definitely comparing the financials, I feel that it is definitely a very good stock. And now let us compare to the other banks. Now the reason why I am slightly more bullish on Htfc Bank is, of course, I always would like to say that I have been holding some portions into ICICI Bank also. Personally, I have not invested into Kotak Bank or Axis Bank, but I do hold some portions into ICICI. Now Htfc Bank is definitely, at least the P ratio sounds much more less compared to all the other banks, and more importantly the dividend yield is also slightly better compared to the other banks. So that is a mild positive that I can say. Now compared to the holding pattern, the mutual funds have been increasing the holdings now. That is something which we have to note, though it has now in between it is around 13%, now it has come to almost say 15%. So the institutions are, I think, more bullish on the stock. Now about the foreign institutions, of course they have sold the stock, but not to a significant degree. Definitely they have reduced the stakes from almost from 39 to 37%, but I don't think that is something to really worry about that stock. Now coming to the chart pattern, now again those who have been watching my videos, you know that I have sold some put option in Htfc Bank with the view of taking delivery, and the reason I am going to explain. I sold 1460 put option at around 15 rupees. Of course now it is an M2M loss, but I don't mind, I am ready to take delivery. Now when we see this stock, it is again the same pattern that we are seeing everywhere. The stock has given a good run up, and now it has been consolidating. Now I feel that around the 1400 to 450 level is going to be a good level if I am going to hold this stock for the long term. So I would definitely be happy to hold this stock. Now whenever any stock comes down, people are really worried buying it. In fact, if we have got to make some profit, we need to buy it only when it comes down. We should not try to catch the momentum. Any stock when it goes really up, that is not the time to buy. Now these are the times when we can buy. In fact, that is what is my protocol. And whenever any stock really corrects, and when we see that the fundamentals of the stock is definitely good, I personally believe that that is the time when we need to go long in those kind of stocks. If you are really convinced about the fundamentals, I don't think there is anything to worry about the stock. So these are my simple analysis why I am bullish on these stocks. Now as the viewers and subscribers, I would like to place a request over here. If you find that there is any major drawback or anything that I have missed out on the analysis, even though it is going to be brief, if I have missed out on anything fundamental about the business that I have explained, kindly post your comments. I will definitely be happy to go about that comments, and if possible, if the really points are salient, we'll take that comment and go about further discussion into any of these points. And more importantly, if you feel that there is any other stock which is, of course there are many, but then if there's going to be a very good value buying opportunity where you see in the current market situation, you can always comment your favorite stocks, and if that is going to be some stock which is worth discussing, we'll definitely do in the forthcoming videos. So I henceforth definitely would be actively involved with all you people, and I want a lot of comments about these videos. Constructive criticisms are always welcome, so please do post your comments about the discussion that we have done here. If you have found this video useful, please hit the like button and share the video. Thank you all. Wish you a very good health.